everyone. Today I'm very excited to show you this quick project, making stockings on your embroidery machine. It's very easy to do. You'll see the back and the front looks the same, and it's fully lined inside. I've got this fur at the top just to make a very elegant Christmas stocking. So let's see how this is done. First of all, you'll hook or tearaway stabilizer, whichever you prefer. I've just used a cutaway stabilizer, and you simply stitch onto any fabric of your choice. I do recommend that you use a sturdy fabric like denim, or maybe if you can get some cross stitch fabric, that also looks spectacular on this. But any canvas like or upholstery type fabric will work just as well. I'll just show you a close-up of this fabric so you can see it's a canvas, almost like a denim type fabric, quite sturdy, and I've got a cutaway stabilizer at the back. And then you simply stitch out your design. After you're done stitching, you can just trim 1/4 of an inch away from the stitch line. You can see my further stitch line I did in white, so you cannot see it very clearly, but it goes all the way up there and around the stocking. Now this is a cross stitch design, and I've added some satin stitches on top, and I've used a metallic thread at the back there. Now you can see I've done it in a red shades, and I've done it in yellow as well, but you can substitute and make even a pink poinsettia, or maybe a blue one or a grayish one if you'd like. So basically any color you will just substitute. You will see these, I think, if I remember correctly, 5 different yellows or 5 different reds. So you'll just substitute that with 5 blues and 5 pinks, or whatever color you would like to use. Very easy to do. So let's see. You need 2 stocking pieces, one for the left and one for the right. Do make sure that you mirror your design so you have a left and a right, as they will go back to back. You will need some fur. Now I've got this piece of fur. Now I just cut myself a little template using cutaway of the top section there. I just used that, and I've cut out a piece of my fur. Now I'm just going to cut out a piece of fur with you so I can show you how I do that. You never want to cut with a rotary cutter when you cut fur, because you will lose that bottom overlay. This piece is hanging over. You're going to lose that. It's going to be straight off, and that's what kind of gives it that nice soft fluffy look if you keep that on. So I'm just placing my template here on my fabric. Just zoom out a little bit so you can see better. And you can first mark with a pen if you would like. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to start cutting, and I'm just going to cut it from the back, so I don't cut through everything. I just cut through this canvas backing layer, so you don't cut all the fluff on the front, just through the back, the canvas that holds everything together. And when I pull this away, you can see it leaves the fluff for the next one there. And then I can just brush away the loose fluffies. And there I've got my next template, my next piece. So you need 2 pieces of your fluff. You need 2 pieces of your embroidery. You will need, this is just a little hanger you can add on the side just so that it can tie. I'm going to make a ribbon using gold and silver ribbon. And you need 2 pieces of fabric for your lining. So any color that matches your flower perhaps. And after I've cut one of these, I just laid my fabric out it doesn't matter right sides together, wrong sides together at this stage. Well, let's make it easier for sewing together. I'm just going to place them right sides together. Just move this over. And I'm placing my one stocking on top. And then I'm just going to use my rotary cutter and cut around to cut 2 pieces of my lining fabric. I will first work on the lining. I've got right sides together, and I'm going to start by stitching a small piece at the top, then I'm going to leave an opening, and then I'll continue around. So I'm leaving that top open, and I'm leaving an opening on this side. So you can go ahead and stitch straight, stitch a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then continue on this side and go up to there. I'll do that off camera and I'll be back in a minute. I've stitched a short piece there, and then I went ahead and stitched all around to that side, leaving an opening on the back end there. You can leave an opening at the front, or if you wish. I just like it at the back. Just makes works for me, but by all means you can use your opening at the front as well. You can then go ahead and in the roundings, everywhere where it's round, I just like to notch, so because we will be turning it inside out in a bit, and this is just to make it turn nice and smoothly. You can put your lining separate now, and we'll work on our front pieces next. Now for our front, you will see I used a gold thread for the outline there. On this side I did not use, I just wanted to show you the difference. I just used the light grey there, but the gold, I really like the way it looks. And I also added some pulls for the center of my flower, and I'll show you how I've done that. I'm using a pull setting machine, and we will link add a link for you in the comments below for where you can purchase this machine. Now when you receive your machine, you will get of course the machine with different dies. I'm going to use the smallest little beads that's in this package, and with your beads you will also receive these little prongs to keep your beads to hook it into the fabric. They are quite small, so I'm using my tweezers here just to let them fall in the bottom slot. You'll see there at the right at the bottom there's a place where you can just place it up with the prongs to the towards the top. Then in the top section where that silicone is, I'm just taking one of the beads and placing it inside. And then I line up where I want the bead to go, and I just hold it and press. And when you let it go, you'll see your pearl is perfectly where it should be. Let's do another one. Now after I added all my beads to the center of my flower, we can now add the third to the top. And I'm placing it right sides together, If you want, you can use some 505 spray just to keep it from slipping. And then just sew all around. When you come to the bottom, remember to lift the fur, so you only stitch at the bottom and you can have your fur laying over. So do not stitch across your fur or it might look stitched on. The same when you get to the side, just push the fur to the side, stitch it on, and you can do that all around for both of these. So I'll be back as soon as I've done that. I've stitched my fur on, as you can see, all around, and I just lifted this up so you can stitch it there at the bottom. And when you have your fur hanging down, it goes neatly over your stitches. You can now take your two front pieces, laid in right sides together, and I'm just pushing the fur inside, and I'm going to use some wonder clips just to clip them together, and then I'll sew them together all around. So you're going to from that side all around, but leave the top open. Oh, before we do that, folks, remember to add your little string that you want to hang your stocking up. Just add it where you want it. Sorry, it goes towards the inside. I'll just place it like that. And you can now stitch on that line where you see the embroidery stopped, right on that edge. We're going to stitch all around. Do not stitch the top, we're only stitching around. After you stitched it together, you can use your scissors again, and wherever the roundings are, we're just going to clip. Careful not to clip your stitches that you just sewn. And I'm now going to take it to my iron board, and I'm just going to give it a bit of a press. Do not iron over the fur, as it will melt, and do not iron over your beads. So just give it a little bit of a press here and on that side as well, and get your seams nice and flat. Almost done. We're ready now to add our lining. It's raw at the moment at the middle. If you don't mind the raw inside, but of course you can just add a little binding to the top to finish it off, but I like to line it. So I'm going to take my lining pocket that I made, and I'm going to insert my stocking through the top. And I'm now going to line up the side seams. Pushing in the fur as I go. And then you can pin the sides as well. And you can now sew all around the lining to the front part, and then we'll come back and we'll turn everything through this hole that we made. So after you've sewn that, I'll be back to show you how we turn it inside out. All done stitching together, the lining to the outer section, and I'm just going to cut off this extra fur that's peeking out from the top, little bits and bobs. And we're now going to, through the opening on the side, just pull our stocking out again. And as I go along, I'll just turn the lining so the right side is facing outward. And you can now take it to the iron board, just give it a good press on the lining side, and then you can sew the opening closed. So you'll just push the raw ends in, and just with your sewing machine right on the edge there, just close that opening. And there's our odd looking stocking, folks, with the lining on this side, and we've got the stocking on this side attached to one another. And we're now going to just pull these apart and then take your lining and push it inside the stocking. Just move with your hand inside so you can get it perfectly straight and neat inside, laying nice and flat. And I like to just hold the seam so it makes a little trim there at the top. If you do not like to see that fabric, then by all means just push it inward, and then you'll stitch right on the edge there all around to keep your lining inside. I like to hold the seam. You can feel the seam on the inside or the edge, and I like to just fold my lining to just over that edge, so I have that little trim at the top, looks like binding. And I'm now going to stitch right on the edge there all around so that my lining stays inside. And there you go, folks, all done. Very quick and easy. The machine does most of the work for you. And I hope you enjoy making loads of stockings this year. These are very elegant looking stockings. If you do not like the fur at the top, or by all means if you can't get the fur, you can always replace that with like a fleece or anything like that. Just something that looks a little bit fluffy. You can even add a name on top here if you would like, if you like to name the person's name on top of the stocking, or maybe use fleece and then stitch the name on that top section if you wish. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Everything we used in the tutorial we will link in the description below. Please remember to subscribe to our channel so you are notified whenever we upload new designs, and remember to click that little bell. I will be just last note, I did mention I'm using gold and white silver ribbon, so I'm just going to make a little bow that I will maybe add on top there with another pearl or two, just to finish it off. So folks, hope to see you soon for another great video by Stitch Delight. Thank you so much for watching.